Man accused of DUI in a deadly crash has now pleaded not guilty. Travis Bell was arrested in June after a crash at the intersection of U.S. Highway 2 and Airport Road about 3 miles west of Grand Forks. The driver of the SUV, 26-year-old Nicole Luthane of Grand Forks Air Force, was originally injured but has since been released from the hospital. Her daughter, 6-year-old Katarina, who was in the passenger in the SUV, died from her injuries. Bell has since been charged with criminal vehicular homicide and criminal vehicular injury. He's due back in court January 2nd. Katarina's parents, Nicole and Robert, did an exclusive interview with Valley News Team's Courtney Lockey. You can watch that story on our website, valleynewslive.com, or on your free VNL News app.